Hello everybody, this is JackB1024 and welcome to episode 28 of our Dynamic Factorio Let's Play series. So, between the episodes I did a few things. Firstly, I fixed up the coal signaling up here, the combinator circuit network we have. So this is now using the 3 circuits we've been dealing with this whole episode, this whole series, for the last few episodes. And so the coal system is now integrated into it. I also fixed up the iron mine so that it's actually working correctly. So after this train leaves, we probably won't stay around for that, but after it leaves, this will send off the new request and the light won't be permanently on like it was at the end of last episode. Copper mine has not been changed. The train system hasn't been changed either. Looks like our coal supplying line is incorrect though, which is annoying. That should be fine. It's possible I just have some extra ones laying around. There was a change to our iron plates. So one of our issues with our iron plate system is we get the number of iron plates on the red circuit here, so 21k at the moment. That would go into this, which would then take it over to our trigger system here. Yeah, that's what I want to look at. So the trigger system would trigger whenever there were more than 24,000 iron plates, which is fine. The issue is that it got reset whenever a train would arrive. So a train would arrive on the green line, we would have a train signal that would go from here, it would go directly, thanks autosave, it'd go directly into this pulse generator, which would send the reset signal to our SR latch. Now that was an issue because say we had, 25,000 iron plates. Our train would come up, it'd start filling up, 2,000 would go in, let's say. So now there's let me say that again. So we have 25,000, our train comes up, starts filling it up, but as soon as the train comes here, this would get reset and it would say, do we have more than 24,000? We do. So it would send off a new request saying, okay, this can supply 24,000 iron plates. Now the train would have to fill up and that would take 24,000. So there'd only be about 1,000 left. The train would leave and then the next time it would come, it would expect there to be a whole train's worth and there wouldn't be. So the simple change that I did, so we get our train signal out here. It goes into a falling edge detector. So this has, actually am I there? I am here, good. It's probably easier to show. So this is similar to a pulse generator, but this time instead of going everything greater than 0, going less than 0, this is still your -1. So if you think about the train signal, it'll be off for a while, then the train will come here and it'll be on. That's fine. While it's on, this will either have a value of 1 or 0, because it'll either be, was it turned on this tick? If so, it's 1. If it was turned on more than 1 tick ago, then we've got 1 plus -1, which is 0. Then when the train leaves, we lose the +1 from this input over here. And so we've just got the -1 taking out our last tick's signal. And so we get a negative value for 1 tick. So it works the same way as our pulse generators, except it's on the falling edge instead of the rising edge. This one just checks if it's -1, and if so, cool, that works. And if so, sets the T signal to 1 so that it emulates what our system used to do. And that would go into here and get reset. So now instead of it resetting when a train arrives at the station, it resets when a train leaves the station. And that way, when it leaves, we can check, okay, now when we next get above 24,000, we know that we can fill up a new train. So I think I only did that station yet. So this is still the old way on the copper plates, but currently we don't actually have a consumer for copper plates. So I'm not too worried about it not being correct. It was just inefficient to have a train here when there's actually not enough plates for it. Now, on to this episode and what we're going to do. Now, there's two main things I can see we need to do in the very short term. The first thing we need to do is we need to set up a production facility that will take our iron gears from here. It will take our copper plates from here, and it will make us our red science packs. And with that, we can drop our red science packs off over here, and they can just join our queue to go to our research labs. So that's the first thing we need to do, is we need to copy one of these production bays. Now, the second thing we want to do is we want to be able to support more than one train on this network. And so I was thinking, what's the least destructive way to our current network to actually support more than one train? Because down this way we only have a single line. And that's really not efficient. All good. So, what I thought we'll do, let's just, there we go. Okay, so let's just pretend, yep, there we go, that'll do. So we'll pretend, once I get this all set up correctly, here we go, that this is one of our production bays. So here's our production bay in it. So currently our trains come down here, they go up one of these lines, depending on if they're going to an input or an output, because our production bays only have input and output. And our furnace bays will eventually only have input and output. The only reason they have two inputs is because these ones currently run off coal. And then what the trains will do, they wait here, and then they go back and they use this line again. So what I thought we would do, what we could do, is that instead of doing it like that, we'll have a second line on the right. And so trains come in on the left, they unload or load up, and then when they're going to leave, they can go up the right line. So we'll essentially have this line here being one way only downwards, and we'll put a new rail line on the right that's one way only upwards. Then we can hook it in there. So that's how I thought we can update our train system. Now there is one other thing I want to talk about with our production bays. So currently our production bays kind of look like this. If I was going to quickly just mock out what they kind of look like. So you got your train lines like that, you got your production bays in the center, and we've got a set of combinators for the unloading, and we've got a set of combinators for the loading. Now I want to basically have a nice blueprint of the entire system that I can just plop down, and it's more efficient and easier to use. So there's a few things I want to change about how it's set up. One of the changes is I want to put right next to this line here that'll feed into our loading and unloading section. I want to put a big electric pole, and we'll have a few of them actually. And these big electric poles will hold these signals here. So we've got two of them, if you remember. We have one that goes for telling the network supplies and demands that we have. This is still getting more. That is annoying. Okay, look at that later. So we've got supplies and demands, and we've got the second line, which is where we get where our current train needs to head off to next. So that's at least the first two lines that we would need here. I actually think I want to go with 4 for the moment. I think that's a good size. We'll have one for supply demand, one for next destination, and the other 2 will be used by the brain when it is finally integrated in. So just future-proofing for that. Now the next thing I want to have for our station, so we'll just mark it like that, is I'll put a constant combinator here, and this will be a section of the network where I can just set up the settings for this bank, basically. So if you think about it, all of these banks, there's a few combinators that I always have to run to set up. So I have to set up, it'd be nice if we had, because this is a copy of that. So we can go here and look at it. So we've got this combinator that I have to set up saying when do we send off our request or our packet that tells it, you know, we've got stuff to pick up or we need to have stuff dropped off here. So we've got that one. We have this one here which stores what this station number is. What else do we have? We don't have those. They don't do anything. Might actually just be those two for the moment that I can think. Yeah. They do seem to be the only two that we actually have to worry about. So we'll just have them set up in a section of combinators over here. And then they'll just talk into all our combinator circuits that we'll have on the right half. And they'll just connect into them. And so that way when I lay down a new station, I can just go here, change the few combinators that'll be here, and the station will be set up. And the plan for that would be that these few combinators that I'm changing would be the ones that would eventually get changed by the main brain telling this block what it's doing. Now, we would lose all the combinators at the bottom, and we would have all the combinators at the top controlling this whole block, is the plan to do. Are there any issues we're going to have with that? I think there might be. So I was trying to think if I could have just one of these blocks and have the supplier and demander. Well, that's really a demander and that's a supplier over here. Having them feed both into the same block. But I don't think that is possible. But I guess we'll think about that more for this episode. So that's my plans for the next very short while, is to get that template set up, then get the right hand side done, and that'll be part of the template. And then we can do that line up. Probably won't get time to set up a second train network today, a second train. And there'll probably be a few bugs in the whole circuit network when we do actually set up the second lot of trains, but that will be something we'll sort out later. Is there a way? No. I feel like my bots will have access to one of these, so I want to put that down there and let one of them come in with it. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we should get the schematic, the blueprint for one of these stations. And that's not the whole station. That is. Okay, we don't need to worry about any of the combinators. In fact, let's just take them all out. We don't want constant combinators. Where's our, yep, don't need them. Okay, don't need any of this. That. None of these poles are needed. Fortunately, this one doesn't have anything set up on the bottom. Don't need that, or that, or that, or those. And we don't need these circles back because we're going to go and continue on. So I think this is the base structure that we want. We'll just get rid of those few as well. We do want that one though. That's the one that makes sure we evenly load. That, I think that is a good starting blueprint. Want you, and we want you. And now that that has successfully laid that down, let's go and remove lots of trees. We'll give this a good amount of room to start with. Way more than I expect it to need. Still far enough away from the biters that I don't have to worry about them. Might though be a little too far. Yeah, we'll do that. And there we go. Okay. So that's going to take a while, and I'm going to fast forward this part. Actually, we're probably going to be missing a lot of pieces, so I'll be back when this is all set up. And we're back. Our construction robots have done a very good job of getting everything set up. I ended up making roboports that go up to where the roboports are made, putting them in a provider chest, also giving provider chests to these bricks here, the combinators, the chests, the medium pole. Should have given arm, or are they already? Nope. Yeah, I should have given those two provider chests as well. And we also have a bunch of roboports here just so that the robots had some time to charge. Though, you can see we were peaking out our power here. So, yeah, we can actually charge more robots than our energy system can handle. So, yep, I'll pick up that. Anything in here that I need, they could always be useful. Yep. Okay, so let's start laying out the layout that we will use for all of our production bays. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now my hope is, I was hoping they could make the whole distance. It looks like they cannot. That's okay. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll do. Now, I actually do want to slightly change what's going on here. This is a bit weird. It's like this object doesn't actually exist. Not entirely sure what's going on there. Maybe the robots are still on their way. Okay, well there's one change I want to do here anyway. Can't say it anymore, but you'll notice that all the outputs are long-handed inserters. They're all going to be putting it on the far side, because all inserters put it on the far side. So if we get this one, yep. Now we gotta put it on the near side. So we'll do that. So then the objects will come on, they'll go to the near side, and that way half of our production bays put it on the near side and half of them will put it on the far side, which means we'll have a higher throughput, which is always good. So, next step, remove that. Actually, if we remove that, we probably... Oh no, that's fine. Okay, let's have a look at these circuits and we'll figure out what we need. So we do need a trigger circuit, we do need the destination circuit, and we do need the messaging circuit. Now there will be an issue with the trigger circuit, and that's just how this one's done. So that's going to be something we're going to have to fix. Let's put down 2 constant combinators for the moment. one of these for the top and one of these for the bottom to control what they have. So let's just lay stuff down and we'll figure it all out. So triggering circuit needs to be reset when there's a train leaving. That's the change we want to make to that at least. There'll be another change I want to make as well. If we go put it here, our train leaving can be yep, everything times -1, output it, everything less than 0, and the last thing we want is that is -1, set our train signal to 1, and our robots are taking forever to get here. Red to there, and connect your output to your input. Okay, so that's at least one of our trigger circuits set up. Now we're going to want 2 of these. Actually, we need to fix the output here as well while we're at this. Yep, easy enough. Okay, so there's the actual full trigger circuit. I should have blueprint. I can just copy this. Don't need that one. And we'll just copy it straight above. Now this one, we don't want it coming from here. We want one of these combinators set up to have it. We need to know the destination number 2. They're going to be different things, so set up 2 combinators. Now this is going to be for iron gear wheels. Iron gear wheels. They'll need to be at least, how high do they stack? They stack to, oh, I can't look in the chest. They either stack to 50 or 100. Let's say they stack to 50, so 12,000 we want at least. Wait, no, 6,000. So, let's just think ahead. So this is going to be making our red science packs, which means that this needs to take both iron gears and copper plates, which makes it actually more complex than any other thing that we've set up yet. So, needs to have at least 6,000 iron gears, 6,000 copper plates. If we're low on either, we need to make the request, and the request for them will be slightly differently numbered. Now, if we look at this, we can see we are up to 15. So 0015, and this can be, did we give it a good name for the production bay? Just go P bay 2, unloader, and we need to make sure this is actually saved as 15. Now we'll go to the bottom one, and 0016, P bay 2, loader. And number 16 save. Okay, that's those 2 set up. Now with it being number 15, open up our calculator. 15 times 128, that's 1,920. That's just telling it that it needs to come to this station. So what we can actually do is we can actually do 3 constant combinators. So this will be what we need to have here. This is what our station number is. This is which of these need to be active for that object. So we'll put in copper plates to 0, 1, and 2, and put iron gear wheels to 3, 4, and 5. So 0, 1, and 2 is 1, 2, and 4. So that's 7. And iron gear wheels would be 8, 16, and 32, which is 56. Now, this needs to go into our trigger system, into this red line here instead of this one. Can it reach? It can. Top one's not going to be able to reach though, but we'll do some wiring like that. So that can go into this one, which goes to here, which goes in. And yep. Red from here goes to that pole, to that pole, to this pole, to into here. If anything's less than 0, yes. Now this trigger system is going to need to change, because this trigger system, at the moment, it's set up so that if the one object we're expecting is less than we need, we make its request. What we need to know is which object do we need to request. So I think for each thing that's less than 0, we'll output it. So that'll at least output a value of 1 for each thing that we need to request. Now this SR latch, we're going to have to change this. Instead, it's going to be something like this. We'll make it into a memory latch. So as long as red is 0, it's going to remember what it's got, and it's going to store the objects we don't need to send because we've already requested them. Then when this okay, so we don't need a plus there anymore. What we'll do is we'll change this to a decision combinator. We'll say if the T signal is greater than 0, we're good to reset this. So that'll reset this whenever we get a train. Now this needs to know, does this need to know anything at the moment? So we've got what objects we have already requested, what objects we need to request. If we make the objects we've already requested be -1, this should be able to just do anything that's greater than 0, output it. Then any object we've requested will be -1. If we requested it and we need it, it'll be 0. We don't need to request it again, so that's fine. If we haven't requested it, but we need it, it'll be a 1. So easy enough. Anything here with a 1 is something that we need to request. So now how do we actually make those requests? Well, if we use your green, we connect that to here. On the green signal now, we have, I've done this one wrong. Be gears. Okay. On the green signal we have what numbers we need to send through to make our request. So what we can do we had room. We don't need that red -1 anymore. That's good. We got all our inputs. We multiply them. 1 more 0, I think. Yep, -2 billion, and we output it again. So that means you're going to have a number. Yep, good, you've got -2 billion for that. Now we're going to add that with our green signal. Where's... I don't have one anyway. That's fine. Everything plus 0, output it. Okay, so now this will only have negative signals for those things that we need to request. If it's positive, we're not getting a request for it. If it's negative, we definitely are getting a request for it. So, only put through things that are less than 0. They're things we need to actually request. And then lastly, do the opposite of we'll do this. We'll add 2 billion to it. And that will get us the signal request we need to send off to make our request. Okay. Then what we need to do is we need to make our pulse generator, which I just got rid of, but I actually wanted to move it anyway, so that's fine. Only things that are greater than 0. And we also want now. I think I want this connected to my pulse generator as output, oddly enough. So on the same connection as that, connecting it to red should be fine. So normally I use red for sending the signal, so we'll connect it to green. Everything that's greater than 0, we actually want to output -1, but that's fine. We'll output +1 of that value, and then we'll put it into this. That can connect to the same input. This should negative it. Okay. So, at this point we're getting our positive signal telling us what we need to request. We turn that into a pulse generator. That pulse goes into this, which converts it from just being a number above 0 to being only the number 1. We times it by -1, so we get a negative value, and that goes down to here to our memory cell to record that we've actually already requested this. So if we disconnect our pulse generator and connect it back, we'll notice this now has -1 for those two signals because it believes that we've requested them. Which means that this now doesn't believe it has to request anything, because even though we know we need them still, we also know that we've requested them. Now, there's an issue. When a train comes and leaves, it's only dropped off one of those two resources. So we actually need to know what the train has, because that's a resource we don't need anymore. So normally this would set out a red. Instead of sending out a red, what if we send out the resource we know that our train has? Is there a good way to do that? There's got to be a good way to do that. What we'll do, here's what I'm thinking. For everything that's greater than 0, just output it as a 1. So that means it doesn't matter how many of those items the train has, we know the train at least has those items. Then we connect that into here. So here we'll feed in what the train's contents are, which means that we actually need this to be separated for these two now, which is okay. So we've got what the train's contents are. When the train leaves, it won't have those contents anymore, or when it empties it, same thing. So when it empties it, this will have a -1 value, because this will only ever be 1 or 0. So this would be -1 for the object that it just emptied. Don't need to worry about that. Don't need to worry about any of that. So we've got a -1. We want to change it to a +1, because that request no longer exists. And that goes into here. I'll just put this here. And we can set this on when we want to make a new request. Okay, let's see if that actually works. So this will be our train. So our trains come, it's got iron gear wheels, 10,000 of them. One, yep. I actually don't have a way to tell if this works just yet. So, if iron gear wheels is greater than 0, that light will turn on. If plates are greater than 0, that line will turn on. So when I turn this off, what I expect to happen is this will send through a +1 for iron gears, telling it that we've just received iron gear wheels, which will turn this one's iron gear wheels from -1 to 0, which means this will now let out an iron gear wheel value of 1, which means this light will turn on, which will then send through a -1 and reset this back to both being -1. Let's see if that happens. And it did. Now if we do copper plates, same thing, but this time the right light should turn on. And it did. Okay, our trigger system works. This can now correctly tell us what we need to do. The only issue I can think of it having at the moment is, say, okay, where is this? Here we go. So this green line has what we have. So let's say we have, 50,000 iron gear wheels. In that case, we don't need any more. And let's say our train with iron gear wheels comes. This knows that we no longer have a request because that got met by this train. But we don't need any more iron gear wheels because we still have 44,000 more than we needed. Now what happens if another train comes? What did just happen? Did one of these lights just flash? It did. Okay, that's... because this is getting set to +1, which means this thing believes that we have a request for iron gear wheels, even though a train just came with them. So that is the issue that I was thinking of. But it's slightly different to what I was thinking the issue would be. But that's probably not going to happen too often, so I don't think we need to worry about it. Now we can copy this design for our top one. So let's actually go and move those items, and we will put down copy of this. There. The one thing we need to connect is this one to here. Okay, so that does mean that this needs to have, into this line we need to have this connection, which tells us what we have in the network, which means this one's going to have to get connected to the bottom one, and this needs to be connected to the train's contents. Okay, on to the second half now, doing the request. Now that's actually, I don't think that's going to be any different to what we already have here. we should be able to just use this circuit as is. What I may want to do, you might want to mute Hangouts. There we go. So what I want to do is I want to change this line here. We want to make this more compact. Just think of the best way to do that. So this one has to connect to this line over here anyway. It's already only got 2 spots. I could just put the other one here. That should be fine. If we line that up. There. That's where I believe it should be going. Okay. If we do that, and that hasn't been built yet, but when that gets built we can connect that up. That will have that connected in correctly. The next thing we'll want to connect in this red line, this green line, and then these will need to get connected. Let's just connect it here. And here. Actually, shouldn't have just wrote it yet. Think about that. Wait. Is that really too far? Hopefully this is not too far. No, good. Okay, so with that, we want to connect. Which line goes to our train contents? This one here. I think this is actually going to be too close. If we do it to there, here to here, to here, to here. We want to read train contents, we want to send it to train, and that all looks fine. Now there is going to be a slight thing we want. We want to get this signal multiplied by -1 and output it again. And we want every signal not changed and outputted. And we want to add those two together. Because this thing is not only reading the train content, it's also reading the stop train and outputting that as this signal train at station. And we want to remove that from the signals that are going to our thing telling us what the train has stored in it, because it doesn't have the train that's at the station stored in the train. Now this is going on for a bit longer than I wanted, I think. I forgot to check what time it was when I got back after having the robots construct everything. Okay, just had a slight interruption, but that's all fine. So, what do I need to do for this train station to be all set up? Well, I need to get the destination circuit set up, and I need to hook it into the second line. I need to get this row of chest hooked into this pole here, the bottom row of chest hooked into this pole here. I need to get another large pole that connects to this combinator here, connected to the bottom one. Should I get that all done here? Should I do it between the episodes, or should I do it at the start of the next episode? Let me just have a look at the circuit for determining. I just had a thought, this trigger system is more complex than needed for the bottom half, because the bottom half can only pick up one item, but maybe in the future it might be able to pick up multiple. But let's have a look at our thing here. I can probably actually rework this circuit to make it more of a line, so it'll fit in sort of this space here, I reckon. So we can have this come up to here, and then we'll put the circuit in here. So what I'm going to do is, between the episodes, I'm going to look at finding an equivalent circuit to that to put into this section here. And I'll set that up, and I'll just do those connections I just talked about. And then we can start from there, and we can actually have a look at if this new production system works. Also want to have a look at if these are all working fine. No, see, there's this one here. It's like it's there, but it wasn't. That's really weird. I'm not entirely certain what's going on. That might be a bug with this mod. But I'll also fix up all those little bits and pieces there. Otherwise, this is JackB1024 signing off. You all have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.